Now we're going to move on to our topic as well, because this was kind of big news. Was it like 2 days ago, 3 days ago? When I woke up to it, I was like, wait. I thought somebody had photoshopped it. I thought it was fake news, but no. AEW announced Paul Wight, aka The Big Show, is hashtag All Elite. And for whatever reason, you look at The Big Show, right, and you think WWE lifer.
Yeah.
But no, apparently he's jumped ship over to AEW. So we want to get onto the topic of major defections, the biggest defections in pro wrestling history. And there have been quite a few. There have been some that were like, man, okay, they show up and then like nothing big happens. But then there have been some earth-shattering ones. So do you want to kick this topic off?
Yeah, bro. But also before that, I just want to make a very interesting point and an interesting observation. Everyone that has gone to AEW, bro, from WWE, that has considered to have defected recently, even though it's shocking that they did, but we never really think that technically they defected from WCW to go to WWE.
Yeah. I mean, because these companies, especially like you look at someone like Chris Jericho, right? Hey, even Chelsea is upset about that. But you think about someone like Chris Jericho, who originally came from WCW to WWF at the time. If you remember his big debut with the funny tauge hair, and everything.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The point I'm trying to make is, even though people are shocked that they would defect from WWE, but they were never WWE guys in the first place. Like Chris Jericho was a WCW guy, so technically he has loyalty to WWE only to a certain extent, because he has moved from WWE to other companies. Ditto as well for Big Show. As much as we think that he's a lifer for being in WWE for a long time, we can't forget that he started off from the enemy company. So they have had experience like leaving WWE, so it's not as if it's a super big deal. But it's just so interesting that the dynamic is like the people that left WWE are the ones that were previously from WCW, kind of,
It's interesting that earlier on you were talking about how the Big Show, has he really reached his peak? I mean, obviously he's a legend in the WWE, right? Has he ever really had that dominant run? And here's the thing, and it happens with all the attraction wrestlers. They don't need to have a long run. Like people like the Big Show, Great Khali, to an extent. Okay, maybe Brock Lesnar is a bad example, because he's actually really, really athletic as well. Like Braun Strowman is the current example. They don't need to have the title. They can just show up and be an immediate threat. Freaking Giant Gonzalez is another example.
And to me, the reason why I think WWE is okay with letting Big Show go is because they already have this generation's Big Show to like be the big guy, which is Braun Strowman.
And Big Show or Paul Wight, I think he's going there to commentate.
Yeah, that will be his main job.
Yeah,
so he's like
AEW Elevation, which is another show on Monday. So now technically AEW has 3 shows. So one more show I don't watch.
Yes. Bro, I tried to sit through. Okay, me, right, bro? I'm a very optimistic wrestling fan. Like I try to see the positives in everything, but it was so hard for me to sit through AEW Dark, bro. I really cannot sit through AEW. Like,
well, maybe the AEW Dark Elevation might be different, because from the description of it, right, it seems like they are going to put like your upper mid card and sometime even your main event guys. But then again, AEW, anybody is main event, okay? So that's the caveat there. Well, you can have Scorpio Sky from the main event go all the way down to AEW Dark and then come back to so it actually kind of doesn't matter. You will see anybody there.
Yeah. And my issue with AEW Dark is because obviously that's where they're testing out all the youngsters. They're giving a place for veterans to work if they come on the main show, and they have like random. Sometimes they have super random, not even signed talent to be part there. So it's very hard for me to form a connection. And I'm not like a guy who follows being the elite and all that. So it's like, bro, just to follow WWE is like 7 hours of our life every single week. You think I can fucking follow another 5 hours of AEW as much as I'm trying to be very positive of the
Dynamite,
of the
Dark, and Dark Elevation? Yeah, that's a little bit too much to ask from your the average wrestling fan.
I cannot find a girl like this, bro, if I have to watch all this wrestling.
Exactly. Well, here's the thing. You sign someone like who is legitimately a WWE legend, a big name, right? Why aren't you putting him on the main show in some capacity? Why are you putting him on a YouTube show?
Bro, because they still haven't found a guy that looks like Big Show that he can mentor and become like Sting and Darby Allin. Then him and that smaller Big Show can fight Sting and Darby Allin.
Small Show, Big Show, and Small Show.
Small Show.
Oh no! So what is that going to be it? Like it's what Taz did, right? Taz was the commentator for Dark, and then all of a sudden he has his own stable, and okay, now Taz is involved. So now they are just waiting for someone for Big Show to mentor.
Bro, you know what they're trying to do, right? You know what's the end game for signing him, right?
What?
They are gonna have the dream match. Give us the dream match that all of us want.
What?
It's basically the Hogan and Flair of this generation.
Which is
Big Show versus Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh no! Oh my God!
Bro,
I can see it. I can see it.
Towards, right, bro?
Yes, I can see it, but I don't want to see it. It's gonna be a shit show,
bro. You don't want to see it, but you won't be able to look away.
That's true. That's true. Okay, so Big Show is now All Elite, right? So let's go back to our topic. Let's talk about those wrestling defections. And we threw that question out there for our friends on Instagram. Here are some of the replies. Shadow says, Bret Hart, WCW. Okay. Obviously, the Montreal Screwjob happened.
Yes.
And then Bret Hart jumped over to WCW. Huge, big name defection. My only issue with that is Bret Hart didn't do jack squat after that in WCW. And this this was mainly because of WCW's mismanagement of talent at the time.
Yeah, and it's weird because technically he should be the hottest talent in the whole industry coming out of the Montreal Screwjob, right?
Yeah.
But he came in, his first appearance, he's like a fucking special guest referee.
Yeah. And then I think he got injured or whatever it was. And then he had to show up on WCW Thunder, their B show. And then it was just...
Rabak, bro. What? I mean, I know he won certain titles. He eventually became the WCW champion, tag team championship with Goldberg, and US championship. Yeah, all that nice and dandy. But do you know about... Speaking of dandy, do you know about this promo that Bret Hart in WCW cut that was apparently very, very funny?
No.
It became like a meme. It's like his version of Steiner Mats.
No, what is this?
Oh my God, yeah. So apparently he's like, at that point in time, he's like a heel US champion. And he said like, I think on a backstage interview with Tony Schiavone or something, he said, I should be able to choose my own challenger, you know, like I should give an opportunity to the young guys. So even though he was in heel mode, he was trying to like push for younger talent. Yeah. Because I think he wanted to avoid a match with Kevin Nash or I can't remember who.
Hogan.
Yeah, it's like the typical like the top tier people all want to challenge him for the time. It's like, no, go to the back of the line. I should give a title shot to all the young guys. You know, why can't I have a match with Rey Mysterio Jr. for example? Why can't I have a match with
Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, all those
Chris
guys.
Chris Benoit, Psychosis, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then the most random name he came out with, everyone, and then like even Tony Schiavone was like, you gotta be kidding me. What? So he said like, why can't I give a match to El Dandy? Have you heard of this guy?
No.
In WCW, yeah, apparently it's like some no-name schmuck, like fucking jobber. But why can't I give a match to El Dandy? He's been doing great on Thunder, and then Tony Schiavone is like, you gotta be kidding with me, El Dandy? Yeah, El Dandy. Why not El Dandy? And it was like almost like a troll like that, bro.
There you go, El Dandy.
You see him?
Yeah,
WCW.
Yeah. This guy, and then there's Bret Hart's interview there. No, it was
Mean Gene.
Mean Gene, was it? Okay, but I see El Dandy. Yeah, there you go. From Mexico City.
Bro, do you even recognize this fucker from when you were watching?
No, of course not. I have no idea who the hell this guy is. Yeah, walao.
Bro, but that's the joke. I think he's like a fucking jobber, and then like I think he's trying to avoid like the guy that he was feuding with. And it's like, why can't I give a match to El Dandy? He's been doing great on Thunder.
Sure.
I need to watch that promo, man. It's fucking funny.
Okay, so there you go. Bret Hart. Yeah, I mean, obviously when it happened, it was a big deal, but not capitalized on. King of Tong Sao says The Radicals. Okay, so that's Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Perry Saturn, and Dean Malenko, when they all jumped ship from WCW to WWE. I remember them showing up like in the front row in their, if you look at the video now, they're like, fashion them bets, yeah. Ugly shirts and everything. They eventually did, Eddie, come on, right? Perry Saturn and Moppy. Chris Benoit.
If I'm not wrong, wasn't Chris Benoit the WCW champion the night before or something?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So he basically, even though he won the title, he was willing to relinquish it
Yeah, and then
just to go to WWE.
yeah, he wanted to tell already, like, and everyone knew at that point WCW was a sinking ship. To be honest, though, I don't think that was a huge like whoa moment. It was like, oh shit, but it wasn't like very hotly and well. I don't know. Maybe WCW fans were hotly anticipating it. I didn't see it at the time. This was the peak of my fandom, right? Like Chris Jericho came much earlier, right? Yeah, like Chris Jericho's showing up. That was way bigger than the rest of the Radicals.
And also, I feel because they were technically no-name personalities even in WCW, right?
Yeah,
like,
they were like mid-card, you know, some would even argue lower mid-card guys. So the fact they all showed up is like, oh, okay lor.
Yeah, and like Chris Benoit at most, maybe he's like the top guy within that faction.
Yeah.
Even then also he's like a no-name work rate kind of guy instead of like a huge big name in WCW, you know?
Yeah. Referee Ryan, what's up? How you doing, man? Thanks for dropping by the chat. He's talking about the latest NXT signees.
Ooh, okay. I mean, you wanna do a quick talk about that because
we'll talk about that later because we're kind of still talking about the topic of people debuting or jumping ship.
Stay tuned, Ryan. Yeah. Stay tuned. We'll talk about it in a bit.
Defections, the biggest defections in pro wrestling history. Ambrose, Pascal the Bull says Ambrose, Dean Ambrose, obviously John Moxley jumping over the AEW. When it first happened, you know, when he showed up at that pay-per-view to beat down Kenny Omega.
Yes, double or nothing.
Huge. That was huge.
Bro, I mean, you gotta admit, I know, like, you know, in hindsight, like, currently the situation is what it is, but, like, I remember getting goosebumps when that happened.
Yeah, but you know why? Because it was, like, the first hint of, could this be the new Wednesday Night War, Monday Night War, you know? WCW versus WWF again. I mean, since then, it has not really turned out to be like that, right? But yeah, definitely there were hints of that, and that's what made that moment even better.
I think that's when people started to take notice of AEW and like, oh my god, like they have the ability to attract WWE talent. This is interesting there.
Yeah. Adley says, okay, he mentions a few actually, but one name he mentioned, Jericho. So interestingly enough, we talked about Jericho and Big Show being, well, they technically have double defected because Chris Jericho's first defection was showing up on WWE after leaving WCW, doing his now infamous Tauge hair, interrupting The Rock's promo, the countdown to the millennium, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then, of course, all of a sudden, once AEW, you know, started doing their stuff, and then Chris Jericho is all elite, that was like the big, it lent credence, it lent like real star power to the startup organization. And I feel like in modern days, I think Chris Jericho's defection was the biggest one.
Okay. Yeah, even though I personally have my own favorite technical defection, you know.
To be fair, like if Chris Jericho didn't join AEW, do you think people would pay attention to AEW?
No.
Yeah.
He brought the ice to the table, man. It's like how Chris Jericho deserves credit for bringing ice to New Japan.
Yes.
I mean, being honest, I mean, like, you put the fanboys aside, people who know or follow Japanese wrestling just as it is. But, like, you know, WWE fans, Western fans, didn't know anything about New Japan.
Nope.
Without, you know.
Yeah, until Chris Jericho showed up and, you know, had that match with Kenny Omega at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yep. So who else?
Yeah, no. Okay. I'm actually surprised that nobody brought this up. Maybe it's too old already, but this is all part of like wrestling lore. Like when I talk about these major defections, like, I want to see the big impact that they do have. Hall and Nash, obviously, NWO, the outsiders, right?
Yeah.
This was, and also, not only was this a huge defection, but it was also great storytelling during the defection. I have a plane flying by right now, so I don't know if you can hear that.
I mean, I hear rumblings.
Yeah.
But I thought it was because we're having a great discussion here.
No, it's not my tummy either. But no, like Hall and Nash, when they showed up in the WCW, it was the pre-internet era. Nobody knew, did they really defect or is the WWE invading WCW, right? So that's what made that defection so much better. Like the whole, this sort of thing will never happen ever again. It was the right place, right time, right people.
Bro, I would dare say, going further than that, like before that, the very first official defection, Lex Luger.
Oh my god, really? Lex Luger?
no, when not because Lex Luger is Lex Luger, but because wasn't it super memorable because he appeared on the tape show of Raw on the same night that he actually made his live debut on
Yes.
WCW Nitro.
Yeah, he shows up at the Mall of America and what is he doing? What is it? Get the cameras off of him. You know, that was a big deal. Yes. But I'm still amazed that nobody else has brought up the very first major defection in terms of like the modern era
Yes.
televised wrestling.
Yeah, maybe we don't have enough people from that age group
Wow.
that is feeling it.
Hey, I'm the old guy here, but when Hulk Hogan left the WWF, I mean, are you kidding me? It would be actually, I can't even think of an example now. It would be like if The Rock left during the Attitude Era and joined AEW, you know?
If it's like Brock Lesnar went to AEW.
Yeah, exactly, right? But no, it was the poster man. I want to say poster boy, but he's not a boy.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
even
he's not a
in
boy.
the 80s, he already botak already.
Oh my God.
But yeah, he left WWF for WCW. That was the biggest defection of all time.
And the thing about him is because he's basically the face of the WWF in the 80s, right? So it's like not only him moving is a blow to WWF, immediately gave like eyes and star power all the way to WCW, correct?
Yes. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, there is no defection that can top that. In terms of star power leaving, like the ones that we mentioned already, like even, Nash and Hall, it was to start off a revolution like NWO, blah, 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 that kind of thing. But to kick everything off, it was Hulk Hogan by far. Like even with Chris Jericho, like Chris Jericho wasn't the star of WWE when he left and joined AEW. He was sort of like the, declining champion or the declining legend already.
Is akin to John Cena leaving WWE to go to AEW, perhaps.
If John Cena did that right now, then that would be the headline. That would be like Hogan leaving. So,
That's
but I don't know if that's
quite
going to happen.
monumental news, bro, to be honest.
Yeah.
But bro, I want to bring up something that's like not a lot of people are thinking of, because when TNA was big in the 2000s, right? Certain defections from WWE to TNA was a big deal.
Okay.
I mean the one that comes to mind, Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle appearing in TNA just legitimized TNA like nobody's business. And that was like peak Kurt Angle, bro, like Wrestling Machine 2006, where he was like badass and all that, and suddenly he appeared and he headbutt Samoa Joe, as a guy who was screaming for an alternative at that point in time. So suddenly seeing like this promotion with their six-sided ring, like okay, what the hell are they? And suddenly, what? Kurt Angle is here? What? I gotta check them out. So I think that achieved his job in terms of shocking defection that make fans from one promotion check out another promotion.
But it didn't have the long-lasting effect as Hulk Hogan did, because if you think about it, Hulk Hogan's defection essentially started off the entire Monday Night War. It's not like TNA ever, with Kurt Angle had any sort of like level playing field with WWE. Like, eyeballs were going there, but it was not like, all of a sudden TNA is on par. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Yeah.
And I guess TNA is a cautionary tale for AEW, because I feel like as much as you want to bring in all these like WWE talent,
legends,
legends and all that, yes, they will give eyes to the product, but who are you building to leverage on these defections?
Yes, and I think you're right. That's exactly it. That is the most important thing. For example, the NWO, right? You were creating something new. They were already top stars. You bring them over and you push them forward, but actually technically they also did swallow up. I guess in that case, because they're already top stars, they were already top draws, so it worked for them. But do you think they built anybody? No, they didn't. Because if you think about it, they were known to be very self-serving at the time.
Talking about TNA?
No, talking about Hall and Nash.
Oh, Hall and Nash, yes.
And eventually Hogan, right? They just swallowed everything up.
Yeah. Everyone talk about it historically, how badly WCW was run. And no one there is thinking about the future. Like Goldberg was a happy accident that they kind of stumbled upon. Sting was really a stalwart. The ones that technically are their future talent that kind of didn't fulfill their potential until they left WCW. It's all the young guys, Rey Mysterio, Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero and all that.
So if you think about it, right, like when you're looking for cautionary tales, I'm trying to just think about it, like, it's a hit or miss lah, I guess. If you get the defection when they're hot, then you get the immediate boost. But if you get the defection when they are sort of like at the decline of their career, like a lot of the AEW legends, WWE legends that have moved on to WWE, it's like, okay, what can you do there? I know I keep bringing up like Jake the Snake Roberts, useless. I mean, not useless, but he's done nothing for Lance Archer. Tully Blanchard, I mean, really, what has he brought to FTW? FTR, yeah. Sorry. So
I would. So in my opinion, in terms of defections, that has.
Talking about WWE to AEW, Jim Ross. Good old JR, we didn't say that one.
Yeah, but obviously because after his snafu and his interesting calls, calling Kenny Omega the WWE champion. Yeah, I think his effectiveness, we kind of know his limitations now, lah. Yeah. And we understand why he's not calling like live TV so much and given so much responsibility. But it's okay, it's fair. I don't know whether you're too young to remember Gordon Solly on commentary.
Of course lah. Wow. Too young for that.
I don't know whether it's 80s or 70s, but apparently, when Gordon Solly was on commentary, he was like the veteran voice that was like in the two-man booth or something, and he basically just did absolutely nothing on the commentary. The one that was running the show was, if I'm not wrong, in the 80s, who was calling the show? I think it was like Jesse the Body Ventura, Bobby Heenan. Okay. And Gordon Solly just come in just to make random comments, just being an old timer and like, he shouldn't have done that. So that was terrible play.
That's JR's role now, lah.
Yeah, JR Joe is just the old timer that just just wants to shit on people, and the commentary board you just have to like respect.
Yeah, and just has a random word and he oversells the restaurant quality picture in picture. Like it's almost become a joke when he talks about picture in picture now,
bro.
Right?
It's like his job mostly on the commentary thing is to just talk about picture in picture. Bro.
Yeah, like okay, what's so good about it? Like that's all he has now. Poor thing lah. Yeah. Anyway,
can I bring up one last defection? Sure. That I think we should mention as well. We never really mentioned about certain defections from New Japan to WWE, which technically was a big deal. Okay. In my opinion, I mean, you will agree. The biggest one, AJ Styles to WWE.
See, okay, I don't even consider that a defection. I consider that more. His contract ran out, so he,
it wasn't shocking.
Yeah, I guess.
But in terms of a guy that is so synonymous with a different company, be it TNA, sure. Had a career rejuvenation in New Japan, and for him to see him in WWE, maybe, and this has gone on record where even Vince McMahon said he wished he signed AJ Styles 10 years ago, when he was at his peak in 2009, 2010. Right. When he came to considering, bro, I just thought of this statistic, considering how much or what he has achieved in WWE in his like 5 years here, he joined WWE at 39 years old. Yeah, which is mind blowing to think of. He achieved so much in this current 5 years at such an advanced age going to WWE. Right. If he had joined when he was 27, when he was like the face of TNA, he could have been a rival to John Cena. Yeah. He could be giving 5-star classics to Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, when they were in WWE. So I felt like it was a defection that made me thought of the what ifs even more.
Now then, I mean, I guess you bring up a good point, because now you're thinking about wrestlers who, like, in our minds, are never WWE guys, right? So yeah. If there were to be a defection to the WWE, I think right now there will only be one name that would be earth-shattering, right?
What is it?
I mean, just think about it for a second. Which non-WWE wrestler, if they became a WWE wrestler, would like grab all the headlines immediately? I mean JR already foreshadowed it.
For sure, bro. Kenny Omega.
Yeah, right?
Would be interesting, yes.
Like, if anybody else jumped to WWE, even if Lance Archer came over, if Page, oh my God, I forgot his name. Cowboy,
Adam Page.
Adam Page jumps over. It'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool, that's interesting, but it wouldn't be like the major defection, right? Yep. Right now, the only person I can think of is Kenny Omega.
Yeah, but time is running out for him because Kenny Omega is almost turning 40 soon. So, it's interesting, bro. Like all the so-called recognizable names right now in wrestling, who are technically well established. People all know their names, are all in their mid-30s. You know, it's as if like the generation are peaking slightly later in their career, in their age. But in terms of like the youth talent,
Yep.
like
Who's next?
yeah,
Where's
who's
the
next?
next batch?
Yeah, who's next?